Right now, millions of people are scrolling through their phones, surrounded by messages, notifications, content, voices, and yet somehow they have never felt more alone. Not physically alone, emotionally alone. The kind of loneliness that sits in your chest at night when the world finally goes quiet. The kind that appears in crowded rooms, during conversations, during relationships. Sometimes even beside the people you love most. And the terrifying part is, most people don't even know why they feel this way anymore. Because modern loneliness doesn't look like isolation. It looks like normal life. And maybe that's what makes it so dangerous, because humanity has never been more connected. Yet depression, anxiety, emotional numbness, and loneliness keep rising together. Something is wrong, very wrong. And deep down, you can feel it too. You wake up, check your phone, consume information for hours, talk to people online, yet somehow your soul still feels untouched, as if nothing truly reaches you anymore. As if every interaction became temporary, disposable, forgettable. And maybe the worst part is that people have slowly accepted this as normal. But human beings were never designed for this kind of existence. For most of history, people lived in tribes, villages, families, communities. You knew your place. You knew your people. You belonged somewhere. And that sense of belonging gave the human mind something modern life struggles to provide: emotional safety. Today, we have infinite entertainment, infinite communication, infinite stimulation, but almost no real connection. Because connection and attention are not the same thing. Someone can text you all day and still never truly see you. Someone can sleep beside you every night and still never understand who you really are. 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus identified the root of this chaos. He warned us, if a person gave away your body to some passerby, you'd be furious. Yet, you hand over your mind to anyone who comes along, so they may abuse you, leaving it disturbed and troubled, and you aren't even ashamed of it. That's why so many people secretly feel invisible. Not because nobody talks to them, but because nobody truly knows them, and eventually, people stop showing their real selves altogether. They begin performing, curating, editing themselves for acceptance. A version for Instagram, a version for TikTok, a version for work, a version for relationships. Until one day, they no longer remember who they actually are beneath all the masks. And this creates a terrifying cycle. Because the more fake the interaction becomes, the more emotionally starving people become, which is why modern conversations often feel empty. Everybody is talking, but nobody is saying anything real. And maybe you've noticed this yourself. Most people are terrified of honesty now, terrified of vulnerability, terrified of depth, terrified of silence. So they distract themselves constantly. Music, scrolling, parties, validation, noise, anything to avoid sitting alone with their own mind. Because silence reveals things. Silence exposes emotional emptiness, and modern life is built to keep people distracted from that emptiness at all costs. But distraction has consequences. The human brain was never designed to process this much stimulation. Thousands of images every day, hundreds of opinions, constant comparison, constant dopamine, constant information. Your nervous system never gets to rest, and slowly, people become emotionally exhausted. Not because life is physically harder than before, but because the human mind is overwhelmed beyond anything previous generations experienced. You weren't meant to emotionally process the lives of millions of strangers every single day. Yet now, people compare themselves constantly. Their body, their success, their relationships, their lifestyle, and comparison destroys peace quietly. Because no matter how much you achieve, there will always be someone richer, more attractive, more successful, more loved. So people keep chasing more, while feeling emptier inside, and eventually they begin confusing visibility with love, attention with connection, followers with friendship, desire with intimacy. But deep down, the soul can feel the difference. That's why some of the most admired people on earth are also deeply lonely. Because fame cannot replace understanding. Validation cannot replace connection, and being desired is not the same as being known. The terrifying truth is this: most people today are emotionally surrounded, but spiritually alone. And the modern world keeps making this worse, because algorithms don't reward depth. They reward stimulation, fast emotions, fast entertainment, fast outrage. Everything became shorter, faster, louder, and slowly. Human attention itself began collapsing. People struggle to focus, struggle to connect, struggle to stay present. Even conversations now compete with notifications. Moments compete with screens. Reality competes with algorithms. And without realizing it, people started living less in the real world and more inside digital environments designed to capture their attention, not protect their peace, capture their attention. Because attention became the most valuable currency on earth. And once corporations discovered how profitable human attention was, everything changed. Apps became addictive by design. Platforms learned how to manipulate emotion. Algorithms learned fear spreads faster than peace. And now, millions of people spend their lives inside systems specifically engineered to keep them emotionally dependent. Not fulfilled. Dependent. Which creates another painful paradox. The more connected people become digitally, the more disconnected they become psychologically. And maybe that's why so many people now feel emotionally numb. Not truly sad, not truly happy, just mentally exhausted. Constant stimulation eventually destroys emotional sensitivity. Your brain stops feeling deeply. Everything becomes temporary. Even people, even memories, even love. And when everything becomes temporary, nothing feels sacred anymore. That's why modern relationships often collapse so easily. Because people have been conditioned to replace instead of repair. Bored, replace. Unhappy, replace. Emotionally uncomfortable, escape. The modern world taught people to avoid discomfort instead of understanding it. But real human connection requires discomfort. It requires honesty, patience, presence, vulnerability, and those qualities are disappearing because they cannot survive in a culture addicted to speed. And maybe that's why so many people secretly crave the past, even if they don't fully understand why. They miss depth, they miss meaning, they miss humanity, not old technology. Humanity. And maybe somewhere deep inside yourself, you miss it too. If this video made you realize something uncomfortable about modern life or about yourself, don't forget to subscribe our channel. Because this channel isn't just about philosophy. It's about understanding the invisible psychological forces shaping modern human life before they completely consume it. And if even one part of this video felt painfully familiar, you're not alone. But loneliness is not only caused by technology. There's something even darker happening beneath the surface. People no longer feel safe being themselves. Because modern society quietly punishes authenticity. The moment someone becomes too emotional, too deep, too honest, too different, they risk rejection. So people adapt. They hide parts of themselves to survive socially. And over time, this creates an invisible psychological prison. Because when a person feels loved only for the version they perform, they slowly begin believing their real self is unlovable. That is one of the deepest forms of loneliness a human being can experience, being surrounded by people while feeling emotionally unseen. And sadly, many relationships today are built exactly like this. People fall in love with masks, not souls, with appearances, not truth, with curated personalities, not real human complexity. And eventually, the performance becomes exhausting, because pretending to be someone else every day slowly destroys your spirit. Maybe that's why so many people feel tired all the time now. Not physically tired, existentially tired. Tired of pretending, tired of performing, tired of smiling when they feel empty inside. And the scariest part is, many people don't even realize how disconnected they've become from themselves. Modern life keeps people externally stimulated, but internally disconnected. People know what's trending, but don't know themselves. They know celebrities, but not their own mind. They know how to entertain themselves, but not how to sit alone in silence. And silence became terrifying for modern people, because silence forces self-awareness. When the distractions disappear, people finally hear their own thoughts. And many realize they've been running from themselves for years. That's why some people constantly need noise, constant music, constant scrolling, constant stimulation. Because stillness exposes emotional reality. And emotional reality can be painful. It reveals grief people never processed, emotions people buried, loneliness people distracted themselves from. But no amount of distraction permanently removes emptiness. It only delays confrontation. Eventually, the silence always returns. Late at night, after the scrolling, after the party, after the conversations, after the dopamine fades, the emptiness returns. And maybe you felt this before. That strange feeling at night when everything becomes quiet, and suddenly your mind starts asking questions you avoid during the day. Questions like, why do I feel disconnected from everyone? Why does modern life feel emotionally artificial? Why do I feel alone even around people? Why does nothing fully satisfy me anymore? And maybe the reason these questions hurt so much is because deep down, you already know the answer. Human beings were never meant to live this disconnected from reality, from nature, from community, from meaning, and from themselves. The modern world gave people comfort, but it quietly stole depth. It gave people entertainment, but removed presence. It gave people unlimited communication, but weakened real connection. And now, millions of people are experiencing a psychological hunger they cannot explain. A hunger for meaning, a hunger for understanding, a hunger for something real. Because despite everything modern society offers, many people still feel spiritually empty. And maybe that emptiness is trying to tell humanity something. Maybe the human soul cannot survive on stimulation alone. Maybe people don't actually need more content, more validation, more distraction. Maybe what they truly need is connection, real presence, real humanity. Someone who truly listens, someone who understands, someone who sees beneath the performance. Because at the end of the day, that's what every human being secretly wants. Not attention, not status, not perfection, understanding. And maybe the saddest truth of all is that many people will spend their entire lives surrounded by noise without ever feeling truly understood by another human being. So before this video ends, ask yourself something honestly. When was the last time someone truly understood you without the mask?